here. I also have and Isaac. Evan, will you wave? Cameraman? There you go. Thank you. Isaac is back there helping with comments as well, but he is letting me know when I have to answer something live. Otherwise, Gene and I are just going to talk.
So if you send in a question, it may take a minute or two, but we'll get it in and try and answer it.
Yeah. So, on that note, today's feature is Imperial Jasper.
Yes.
And we have 50 new specimens, and some pairs, and about 30 calves, all that were produced this week, all new material for this feed. So we hope that you will enjoy all the things that we are going to show you later on.
I know that most of you people who we decided to do Imperial Jasper for this presentation. We're looking in some of our old stock, and I found 2 boxes of cut Imperials that had not been polished, that we had purchased about 12 years ago, and that during that particular year, the Royal Imperial was very good and quite a bit larger than in most productions since. So we had we polished all of those this week. We worked very hard and produced almost what did you say?
50 specimens with some pairs and about 30 calves.
And they're some of them are extremely nice. Yes.
So, well, to make things even more interesting tonight, did you know that today is National Get to Know Your Customers Day?
No.
Nobody knew that. But Isaac told me this morning, so I thought I'd make this more fun. Some of you know this box. My closest friends know what this box is. It has shown up before. It is a get-to-know-you box. It is a box full of questions that we have presented at get-togethers to get to know each other. So in the theme of getting to know your customers, we're going to ask you a question.
I get to pick a question.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, it is. Okay, this is the question, and we'd like all of you who are tuned in and to send a little note or comment to us answering this question. So what is your favorite wild nature place?
Your favorite wild or in the nature place where you've been. Anywhere in the world. We want to hear your comments. We want to get to know you. But the reason why you want to spend the time to comment are actually because of this box right here. And this box has a name for every person who commented on last week's feed is in this box. And if I pick your name, if you're here tonight and watching, and I pick your name, you're going to get 20% off anything you buy tonight. Go ahead and pick the lucky person.
So make sure you comment. 20% you said?
Ooh, I know that person.
Richard Vaughn.
Richard Vaughn.
You get 20% off.
You get 20% off anything you decide to buy tonight, just for being our customer and commenting. We appreciate you. Richard Vaughn, can Stephanie, can you, or no, I think it has to be Annie or Stephanie, can you tag this person, please, if they're not already on? Richard Vaughn. Here, Evan, you show them. So, not only does Richard Vaughn get a prize tonight, but I have put in this box numbers 1 through 100, which is the 100 items we have for sale tonight. And whatever number Jean picks is going to be half off.
But you have to message.
But this is how, yes, the first person to comment that number is going to get that numbered item for half off.
But we don't know what it is.
But we don't know what it is yet. So you could take your chances, and you could say, whatever it is, I'm going to get it half off. and you could put that number in your comments right now, or you could wait until you think you might want it half off. If it's coming up in a feed and you see what you're looking, or like what you're seeing, first person to comment the number Jean picks gets it half off, whether it's now during the feed or tomorrow if it's not sold. Oh, 4.
We practiced this, and I've never picked a low number like that.
Okay, number 4, half off. So let's start our feature on Imperial Jasper. Where is Imperial Jasper from?
Yes, Imperial Jasper is from Mexico, and I have a couple maps here. So first of all, we'll take a look at this general map of Mexico. Can you see it okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's Mexico City. Oh, let me get a pointer here. And then if you travel west, the next really big town is Guadalajara. And I'm sure some of you probably have visited Puerto Vallarta, which is right over here. The Imperial Jasper is found northwest of Guadalajara in these mountains here, about 50 miles northwest. Okay, now I have a second map, a topo map. So this is a topo map. Here's the map of Mexico. It shows what rectangle that this map is. It's right there. And Guadalajara is down here. And you can see here there's a little town where the river drainage comes in here. And then there's another river that comes this way. This is San Cristobal. And just north of there, or going north out of the town, there's a highway, a little highway. This highway runs to the north. It's Highway 23, and it runs up a very steep ridge. This is on the top of the ridge, and it goes down on this side, and it goes down on this side. The Imperial Jasper, or what is known as Imperial Jasper, comes from this whole area. And it's divided into 2 groups. On this side of Highway 23, where the canyon goes down to the west, is where all the regular Imperial Jasper comes from. And on the other side of the highway, in this drainage, is where all the Royal Imperial Jasper comes from. So we have the Royal on this side and the regular on this side. There are multiple deposits in both areas, and it covers quite a large distance. This is from here to here is like, 4 or 5 kilometers in distance.
So have you been to the Imperial deposit, correct, Jean?
Yes, I've been there twice. Having mined morrisonite for quite a long time, I was very interested in to see the deep, steep canyons. But unlike morrisonite, they're completely covered in vegetation, and the vegetation was strange to me. You have pine forests with cactus everywhere. Everything's covered with vegetation. It's very, very difficult to get around. On the one side, as I explained, showing you the map, where the regular Imperial comes from, those deposits are like large vugs or pseudo veins. There can be as little as 10 or 20 pounds in one little spot, or as much as several hundred pounds in one spot. On the other side of Highway 23, where the Royal Imperial comes from, these are, in fact, a nodular deposit. I was extremely surprised to see that myself when I was there. The vugs in the volcanic rock are usually flat and long, and they get filled up with this white powdery stuff, which eventually gets jasperized, or the jasper forms in that white powder. doesn't seem so like a nodular deposit is because you rarely see Royal Imperial Jasper with its natural outside. It just doesn't form with the full cavity that it formed in.
So there are the Royal Imperial on one side and the Vein Imperial on the other side, and you said that there were several different deposits of the vein material around a 5 or 6 kilometer area. Are all of those little deposits on the same land? Are they all? Do they all look the same, or do they produce different things out of each one?
Yes, they can be vastly different or even similar. The very first Imperial Jasper imported into the country was what they sold it as pink Imperial Jasper. And it came in a pseudo-nodular form. And it was primarily pink and beige and white, and did not have a lot of the typical egg pattern that we associate with the Royal Imperial now. There's a spot on the, where the regular comes from, where that produces all green Imperial Jasper. It's entirely green, sometimes with a little bluish tint to it. And there are several areas that I know of where the colors are mixed, where the deposit, say, is several hundred pounds, and it's sort of green in one end, and it varies through tans and pinks as you go through the area. The nodulars on the other side vary also. They vary primarily, though, in size. The nodules never get really very large, although I have been told there have been some very large nodules found. So a particular deposit may have smaller nodules, another deposit may be a little bit bigger, and the colors vary there also. They can be primarily pink or primarily green or mixed colors. So the deposits, the jasper varies somewhat in the nodular area as well.
And we've found that to be true through the 30 plus years we've been bringing this rock onto the market. 20 years ago, you started with the Royal, but it was with the Imperial before that, right?
Yeah, the regular Imperial, the pink Imperial was the first that we had, and then every time you got it, it was a little different, so it came from a different deposit. I don't remember the year that the first time that Royal Imperial came. If I want to say something about the size of the deposits, that very first time the Royal came in, it was 6 tons. And I don't know how long it took them to mine that, but it was more than a year. However, the regular Imperial is much more prolific. There's been many, many, many tons of the regular Imperial produced.
All right, well, should we go look at some?
Let's
go look at some. Evan, let's come around here. We're going to start our live feed portion of this tonight. We're going to start with some Royal Imperial Jasper specimens, and we have quite a few. We're going to start with the lower end of pricing and go up basically. So here is a Royal Imperial, green and red. Number 1 is $40. Number 2, also $40. Number 2. This one has some nice egg pattern in the center with some cracked eggs. That cracking is common in the pattern of in the middle of the egg pattern, isn't it, Gene?
Yes, it's somewhat unusual compared to the other types of jaspers that have the egg pattern. But quite often you can find this crackling that occurs in the very center of the egg formation.
Numbers 4. Number 4 is 40. But I think that might be the one we picked, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, 40. Hey, someone bid number 4, $20. Good job, Jennifer. So here we go. Number 6 is 60. Love the pattern in this one. Did you want to talk about this one? No? Can you move those, please?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 6. You see that the nodules have all of this chalky white outside. All right, I'm going to grab this one, Jean. Evan, can you zoom in on those 3 quick? I'm going to move. Well, you're going to move down there. Move down there. I think we can do it that way. Here, let's come over here, Evan. Numbers 7, 8, and 9. Can you grab those, Jean? All right. Royal Imperial Jasper specimen. Number 7 is 60. Has a cracked open center, a cracked egg. Something new we're trying to do here this week is show you pictures after we have talk about them. So once we get through the first number of pictures, Annie is going to post a picture of all of like the first 7. And you will have dimensions on there and the weights and everything for you to look at as a reference. Number 9 is 60. Beautiful.
Okay, we received a question about whether I knew about the age of the deposits, and I really don't, but I'm sure it is well known. I believe it's an andesite, mainly an andesite deposit, where the vugs are that the royal comes out of. But I can try and find that out.
It's a volcanic andesite?
Yes.
Okay, so moving on to numbers, right? Right, Evan? Mm-hmm. Numbers 10, 11, and 12. Number 10 is 60. Some nice pink and green in that pattern. Has some of the webbing going across, and that's another characteristic of the Royal Imperial, is it not? We have egg pattern and striations.
Yeah, this is somewhat unusual. It's more obvious in the next one. But this white material that filled in the cavity first, filled in the cavities in layers. And those layers are there even though when the jasper formed later, and you could still see the layering of the rock.
So this is what you're talking about? These lines?
Yes. Yeah. That has actually nothing to do with the formation of the jasper itself. It was there first, and then as the jasper formed or hardened, the layers show up.
Okay. Can you wide shot that one, Evan? While I set up these. Okay, once Evan can come over here then, Jean, and then you can grab them. Okay. So number 13 has some of those streamers going through and some egg pattern. Streamers. That's another term we use when we describe fine jaspers. What are streamers, Jean?
Well, they're most known in Morrisonite, and it's probably where a crack occurred, and then separated the jasper, and the jasper reformed in the crack itself. And sometimes that happens in profusion, and you have all of these lines and forms that run through the jasper.
Coming up on number 15 here, I just love this piece. It's just like a beautiful blooming flower.
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about the egg pattern that you see very, very nicely in this particular piece. This pattern is extremely rare in the world and occurs in a number of jaspers that have become sort of a class of jaspers. I like to call them fine jaspers. The most famous one that shows off the pattern the best is Bruno jasper. And sometimes the pattern is referred to as Bruno pattern. The most common word used to describe the pattern is egg pattern, but other things have been used as well. So Morrisonite has the egg pattern, Bruno has the egg pattern, Willow Creek jasper has the egg pattern, Blue Mountain has the egg pattern, and Imperial jasper from Mexico have the egg pattern. Those 5 are the major jaspers that have been mined commercially that are on the market. There are many other jaspers that have the egg pattern too. One that's collected from Oregon as well is called Heart Mountain. And there is a thunder egg down near McDermott that has this egg pattern. And if a jasper has, or a rock has this pattern, then it is usually referred to as a fine jasper. I guess characteristic of these jaspers that have this pattern is that they are extremely cuttable. They cut and polish easily. And if you see that pattern, you usually have something that can be cut really very easily.
Okay. So I have really enjoyed my time in the lapidary this week. It is actually one of my favorite rocks to polish because it has that fine grain to it. And if you're working in the lapidaries or in a lapidary and cutting stone or just learning how to cut stone, it's a nice one to start on because it doesn't have as many issues with it on wheels as other things do, like that can heat up and fracture. Royal Imperial jasper, Oahe jasper, all the fine grained jaspers really work nicely on the wheels. Coming up on number 19 here, $75. You see those layers in this one. You see striations and eggs. Nice green color. This is number 20, $75. The blue and the green combination is actually quite unique.
I should say that the egg pattern in a particular type of jasper that may be referred to as a fine jasper is not in every piece. The egg pattern is considered to be like in Bruno in almost all of it because the miners wouldn't keep the rock unless it did have the Bruno pattern. This was the case on the Christine Marie Morrisonite as well. If you're mining the rock and it didn't have the egg pattern, it was simply thrown away, even though it only amounted to maybe half of the jasper that was mined. In the regular Imperial, the egg pattern can occur, but it doesn't occur to a very high percentage, maybe only 20% of the time. Certain deposits will have more than other deposits. But in the royal, it also varies somewhat. Especially the material that has come out lately has had a high degree of the egg type formation, but it's been very small. Some of the very first batches of Royal Imperial that we got would only have about half of the rock that had the egg pattern.
Number 24. This is the other half of that other amazing half. I'm not sure what number it was. We do have some pairs matched up in here. Number 24, 75. Yeah. Scroll over those. So we've been getting Royal Imperial for 20 or 30 years into the gem shop. I remember going to Mike New's warehouse 20 years ago and loading those sacks into the back of your truck. I thought you were crazy for buying 5-6 tons of rock at the time, but now I understand why you did.
The very first time that the Royal Imperial came into the country, Mike New imported it. Mike New is not a rock dealer, he's a mineral person. But the people who had mined it didn't know where to go with it and knew that, that he sold rocks in the United States. And so he's the one who got it, and we ended up buying the entire shipment from him. Since then, we have dealt with many people, and because of the problems that exist in the area, I mean, there's always going to be small amounts that come out from different persons.
Number 27 here is 90. I believe it's the other half of a previous one. Evan, have you seen any pictures that Annie's been posting up? Have those been able to go up this time? Do you see them?
Not in the chat, because you can't post pictures in the chat.
I thought we were going to try that. Okay. I see. Okay. Well, we will do that later then. We will post all of the pictures after the feed for reference. Okay. Number 28 is a pair. This is 135 for the pair. Cut on the length of the nodule.
It's very interesting with the Royal Imperial. If you happen to have a whole nodule, you have no idea whatsoever what's inside.
Yeah, this is a very unique one too. We did the other half of this one. This one has some unique formations going on. And number 29, 90. And this is number 30. Oh, this is the other half. I didn't get to it yet. Okay. Evan, you want to move down there? Thanks. 31 is going to be sold as a pair. And 32 is also a pair. Now, I know some people have been asking about these already. Number 31 has a beautiful green circle. 31 is a pair. It's $2.50 for the pair. This is 4 1/4 by 3 1/2 by 1 1/4 the dimensions, and it's just under 2-pound nodule. Kind of looks like an apple.
Beautiful egg pattern.
Yeah, just beautiful. Number 32 is $300 for the pair. This is a beautiful museum quality piece. The blue and the green combinations are amazing. It has a cracked egg center, but it's healed in with you can see on the reflection there full nodule on the backs. Had no idea what you were cutting open on that one. One second. Go ahead, Gene.
This egg pattern that occurs in these Jaspers, I attempted to describe once and actually published an article in Rock and Gem magazine. Here is, this is February of 2008, and the Bruno pattern Jaspers. It lists the 5 Jaspers that I mentioned earlier and describes their commonality and cuttability and the egg pattern that's in them all. I should also say that even though this pattern is extremely rare in nature, and there are so few Jaspers in the world that have this pattern, the Imperial Jasper is by far the world's largest deposit of this type of Jasper. I don't know, I doubt if there have been 25 tons of morrisonite produced in the 70 years it's been mined. But in the Imperial Jasper, there was one year that there was 50 tons produced. So its deposit is much larger than anywhere else in the world.
It's just really hard to get to because of all of the overgrowth and the vegetation. This is our largest pair that we have this evening. It's number 34, $3.80 for the pair. This piece weighs 3.15 pounds, measures 5 3/4 by 2 1/2 by 2 inches. Number 34. Moving on. Number 35. You want to come over here, Evan? This one weighs 1.4 pounds. Cut face is 5 inches by 2 3/4, and it is 2 1/4 inches deep. $200 for this one. Number 36. This is the other half of another one. $1.35 pounds on number 36. Okay. Number 37. $2.25 for the pair.
That one was probably found in the river.
Because of all the white being gone from the outside.
Right.
So it was worn. Such beautiful, darker colors in this one. Number 38 is stunning. $400 for the pair. Another museum quality piece. Full round on both sides. Ooh, okay. We have one more Royal Imperial here. And then we're going to move on to some cabs. So those cab buyers of ours, if you want to get out your millimeter gauges, that might help tonight. Number 39, I saved this for last, probably one of my favorites in the group, 120, because it really shows that not only some beautiful egg pattern that looks like a flower blooming, but it just exploded in the center, and I think that looks kind of cool. There we go. So you're going to have to scan over these, Evan. So now start with 40 there. These are the cabs for tonight. I have listed all of the dimensions.
Turn the light off.
So if you have questions about dimensions, about a specific number,
Turn the light off.
can you unplug this, Jean? Never. We're going to scan over these. Take down the numbers that you might be interested in. No, let's get you in some better light, huh? Let's try over here. You might have to take this off so you don't have a glare. No? Doesn't help? So if you have questions about dimensions on any of these cabs, Stephanie and Sandra and Annie all have that information. I'm going a little slower.
Now, these cabs are mixed. Some are cut from Royal and some are cut from the regular.
The lighting is so bad in here. Can we try that over here just for fun? Oh, that's a little better. The number 30 and number 51 are from the Select Imperial. Number 52 is a Royal Imperial. Number 53 is a beautiful spider web. This one is really unique. It's a lighter color, but it has those layered lines through it that add some level of elegance. Number 56, elongated pink and green. Again, if you want the dimensions of these, just say, hey, what are the dimensions? And we can shout them out to you. Just going to scan over these again one more time, kind of more quickly, so you get another glance.
All cut this week.
We have a few more cabs. These are the larger of the cabs that we produced this week. Can you walk with me, Evan? We're going to try a lighting thing. Walk to the front window with me. Just not happy with the lighting of the colors of these. So we're going to try this. That's better. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. So these are all Imperial Jasper cabs. If you would like to know the dimensions of these, please just let us know in the feed, and we will get those numbers to you. But these are all cut in a German buff top style. That is unique to the gem shop, and some other people do that, I'm sure, but that's how we cut. These cabs are all cut with a very slight beveled edge, and that allows for really easy metalsmith setting. So next we're going to do some Imperial Jasper, so we're going right over here. So we're going to get some green select specimens in here. These were also cut this week. That's a piece of green select Imperial. This is Imperial that was mined this past year and was brought in Tucson this year. So here's number 67. Oh, you get that in there first. Go ahead, say something, Gene.
The classification of select just means an area where the jasper had multiple colors. It wasn't just pink or just green or just composite. It varied with the multiple colors. You can see in this one with the green form with the pink in the background. Pink coming through there.
So here's number 68. This one is $45.
You can see the striations in this one, and then going from green to pink, and the sort of egg pattern that occurs up in the top.
So the egg pattern is not specific to the nodules, but it's not very common in the veins.
Correct.
Number 69, $75. This has some of those same colors that you see in the nodules, so that bluish and the green. Okay, you can remove those, Jean. Here, hand that to Grandpa. Number 70 is just $22. So reasonable. Love it. Pink and green. This one keeps on shedding, though. Every time I put it down, it leaves another piece of rock.
A cabber should buy that one.
Number 71, number 22, or $22, number 71. Number 72. Go ahead and grab those, Jean. Number 72 is $45. This one has a broken edge. It is actually from, you said this was from the
The regular.
the regular Imperial, but it looks like it's part of a nodule.
Exactly.
Thick slab here. Take all those, please. For those of you who may have lost out in the beginning of the nodules, I know we had some people bidding on some things there. This one got thrown in at the end because we finished it late. Number 73 is $75. Beautiful piece. Number 74. Hey, Evan, maybe you can hold these up. That would help. 75 on that one too. Really large nodule, not very, I don't know, contrasting.
Still has a nice pink.
Nice pink center. Okay, come over here. This next few ones that we have are from the pink Imperial. So it's still on that vein side of the mountain that these are from. But again, these are, this is a pair. This one is 3.5 by 1 3/4 by 1.75 on the thick half. Weighs 0.95 pounds. $30 for the pair. Number 76, 0.9 pounds for the pair, $40. Number 76. Nice striations in there. Interesting shape. Here's number 77. It's a slab. $55 on that. And we have one more pink Imperial, and Jean has a story about this one.
I do?
Yeah. Unbeknownst to you, I guess. Evan, will you move down? Where did you find this one, Jean?
Oh, that is a very old one. It's one that came from one of the very first batches of Imperial that we got. I don't know, 25, 30 years ago, maybe. And I cut it and took it home and put it on a shelf. And you know how everybody is these days, they're cleaning up. So my wife found it on the shelf and said, "Here, take this back to the shop."
Probably like 30 years later, you're finally taking your rocks back to the shop. That's funny.
This is unusual because it's typical for the pink, but it shows the egg pattern in the center, which did not occur in the pink very often. And it's a very tight egg pattern. It almost looks, I don't know, like if you look at it, you want to look at it twice because it's shimmering.
Really nice piece. $175 on that one. Old stock pink Imperial. Okay. Well, we have a surprise next. Evan, come shoot this. So in the efforts to clean up a little bit, we found this. An Agates 3 book in the plastic wrapping. This is going for $135. Original price of the book. I don't see much. It was wrapped in bubble wrap. I did take it out, and I don't see any damage, really big damage. The corner might be a little bent in, but otherwise unavailable. Number 79 is an Agates 3 book for $135. So we skipped over this last week because we were rushing. line is going to be numbers 80, 81, and 82. We produce geodes and put them in these packages here at the shop and sell them to interested kids who want to have some fun cracking things open at home. There are 3 different kinds. The tall stack goes for $12.99 and is number 80. The short stack, which is the middle one here, is number 81 for $9.99 each. And the amethyst whack and cracks, we talked about geodes last week. We have some of those small amethyst geodes in here that are really fun to break open with the kids. Those are also $9.99. Can you get the sign and the display of it? So we just refer to those numbers if you're interested in those. And thinking of those kids all cooped up in their homes these days, and we want to teach them nature. This is a great book to have some different activities to do with the kids in your kitchen or in your backyard. Making molds, understanding the earth and the earth formations through different science projects. There's over 50 different projects to explore in here. This book goes for $22.99 and is available on our website or by saying number 83. So next we're going to go to the shungite, probably the most requested rock I've heard of this week. We have a number of different items here, and I want you to just scan over the different ones and go close on the numbers. So we have number 84 here is our large pyramid, and number 85 is our small pyramid. 85 small pyramids are $29.99. The large pyramids are $49.99. 86 is a sphere for $34.99. 87 is elite shungite for $24.99. And 88 is elite shungite for $4.99 a piece, just smaller pieces. And I wanted to say something about shungite and probably why we've gotten so many requests. Just scan over all of that. It is a black non-crystalline mineral that has 98% carbon. It originates from Russia, where Peter the Great used its water purifying properties in his palace in the early 1700s and required soldiers to carry a piece of shungite with them. It does not scientifically confirm antibacterial properties. It does, I just read that wrong. It does have scientifically confirmed antibacterial properties and is still used in water purification today. A lot of the elite shungite is what they are using in water purification for reference. Metaphysically, shungite is said to have shielding help from electromagnetic radiation. And I'm sure that's probably why I'm seeing an abundance of requests for this rock right now, because shungite is we're all on our, even right now, on Facebook, on our tablets, on our computers more because we're all at home, and this really helps calm the anxiety out of the room. All right. Those are all available on our website, thegemshop.com. And now we're going to go to our cutting corner with Rough Rock and Jean. We're going to start over here with Imperial Jasper, number 91. This is the Select Imperial. This is the vein formation. Where's my water bottle? There it is. Thank you. So these are what you can expect by ordering this material. It comes in a variety of sizes, but the sizes range from about a half a pound to 2 or 3 pounds at the most. Can you get some of the patterns in there, Evan? So this Select Imperial is $10 a pound. This was all new material that we imported from Mexico for Tucson this year. And I'm not even going to bother spraying the next rock because you can't see really what's inside anyway. It's just going to wet the outside. Royal Imperial Jasper nodules. This is how they are in the rough. This is the Royal Imperial for $15 a pound. I have two 60-pound sacks available for $5.50. if you're interested in one of those. You want to talk about the grading of the Royal Imperial? We can zoom out on all three of these.
When the gem shop receives a batch, and we have this year we did not receive very much, but in past 3 or 4 years ago we received about a ton of Royal Imperial, and that's a yearly production. That's all that's produced in a year's time, and it varies every year. This year they have started digging in a new location. The material is much smaller, but a little higher in egg pattern, a little bit better from a cabbing point of view, and a little not quite as good from a specimen point of view.
So we have two other, we have 3 different grades of Royal Imperial. We have for selection at $15 a pound, or the 60-pound lot for $5.50. We have these 10-pound lots of smaller nodules. They look very similar to this, might be a little bit smaller. Those are 10-pound lots going for $120. We have several of those available. And this is really small. This is the newest stuff, right? This is much smaller, and it looks a little dirtier on the outside because they didn't tumble it first. It doesn't mean it's not as pretty on the inside. It is smaller though. So we made these 10-pound lots for $80. That's number 95 in the feed if you're interested. So over here we have some hematite. We did import some things from Brazil this year, and hematite was one of them. Hematite comes from the northern parts of Brazil. This material sells for $8 a pound. And a piece that you think that is going to weigh 1.25 pounds actually weighs 3 pounds. This weighs 3 pounds. We have hematite tumbling rough. For you tumblers out there, something different to try. $6 a pound, number 97. And here we go with the vein material. More vein material. We had the select earlier, but here's some pink Imperial for $4 a pound. Here's some green Imperial. $10 a pound, number 99. And this is the mine run. This is part of that really large shipment we got in a few years. So $6 a pound, or a 50-pound lot for $125. Deal of a lifetime. There we go. Jean, I think it's time for stories. I really like this story tonight. Thank you for watching our items here. We're going to finish tonight with a story from Jean, and then we'll give you a preview for next week, so hang in there.
I have been asked to tell these stories, mining stories, and while most of them come from this little book or collection of blogs about mining morrisonite, so this is one out of this booklet here. I'd like to say in the beginning that I have been very fortunate to be involved in a lot of mining operations. I have mined morrisonite, I've mined most of the Mexican agates, Laguna, Coyamito, Agua Nueva. I've been very fortunate to do many different mining operations. The one thing that is common amongst all of them is that in a particular mining operation, nothing goes as planned. That's just a given. You can do all the planning you want, but it's not going to happen exactly the way you want to. So this is a little story about the beginning, and I think this took place in 1989, when both Jake and I were working in the morrisonite area, and we were anxious in the spring of the year to get out there. We wanted to get out there, and we arranged that we would go out together. So I drove from Wisconsin to to Idaho to Jake's place. When you go out to Morrisonite, especially at that time, you have to be prepared to stay there for a while. So we needed, like, say, 55-gallon drums from diesel for the equipment. We needed, a 55-gallon drum full of water because there is no water there. And all your food and propane and everything. So we spent a couple of days getting all ready. And I had a black travel trailer, and Jake and Bev was going to come out this time, his wife, so they were going to pull their little travel trailer out there. So we got all ready to go, and we were supposed to leave Monday morning and be there Monday afternoon. But then we got a weather report that a big storm was coming through. So Monday morning in Homedale, Idaho, it was not raining. It was just overcast. So we thought, well, let's go. So we left and drove the, it's about 60 miles, maybe a little further, to the turnoff, the Jordan Craters Road turnoff that goes to the Morrisonite area. Now, from the highway to the mine, it's about 27 miles, and it's all dirt road. The first 10 miles of the dirt road are improved, so it's not too much trouble. But after that, it's just a mud dirt road through the top of the lava plateau. So we got to the turnoff, and that is actually 1,200 feet higher in elevation than Homedale, Idaho. And so the sky seemed to be much lower, and it was drizzling and sleeting. And we probably could have turned around at that time, but decided to go on anyway. We were so anxious to get out there. So we drove the first 10 miles with no problems, and then the road deteriorated fast. It started raining harder. The road got muddy, and we went a couple more miles, got up one of these slight hills there, and then we started slipping and sliding, both of us pulling something until both of us were in the ditch. Now you have to understand that this country has a little bentonite, what's called bentonite, in the clay on the surface. Wet, it gets just like grease. Even though we have four-wheel drive vehicles, it doesn't matter. It just cakes up on your tires and you slip and slide. So Jake's trailer slid off a little bit. It was slanted at about 20 degrees, and I was in about the same position but back a little bit. So we talked about it and decided to spend the night there. So we spent the night there and decided the next morning we woke up. It was dark and drizzly, but the wind was blowing, and we thought, well, we'll wait a little while for it to dry out. By noon, we dug out the stuck tires, put rocks under them, and got going again. We made it to the corral. This is where the road turns north to go to the mining claims, about 4 miles from the claims. And here the road is very bad, and it's rocky, and you can't go very fast. So we're going along, and sure enough, Jake's truck and trailer slid off. When I saw that happen in front of me, I took off across the sagebrush up into a flat area where I thought I could disconnect my trailer. I took the trailer off, drove in front of his truck, chained up his truck, and tried to pull him out. All we did was throw mud everywhere. So we decided to spend a second night there. So we slept in our truck, and the next morning it was the same way, gray sky, wind blowing, and slightly drizzling. So we waited a while and then dug ourselves out again and went on, and finally we're driving along towards the mine. When we got about a mile from the mine, because we were driving a little fast, because it was so slippery, we found we could get through some of the mud holes easier if we were driving a little faster. the storage door on Jake's trailer popped open, and out popped a bag of groceries. Well, neither one of us wanted to stop, so we just kept right on going. And a little further along the road, then another bag of groceries popped out. So we eventually got to the edge of the cliff and then drove down to the cabins and started setting up camp. The next day, we went back up and found all the groceries. Everything was fine. But
You went picked them all up,
back
didn't
up.
you?
We picked them all up. They were sitting along the side of a road like decorations for about a mile. So we picked them all up and went back. So we had all our supplies and we're there at the mine, happy and ready to go. 3 days to go 27 miles. My note to everyone is this: sometimes you have to drive through a little mud to get to where you're going.
Wonderful. I think we all feel a little stuck in the mud right now.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Jean, for your stories. We are going to finish tonight's feed on a preview for next week. And we are going to venture over to Oregon and talk about some Graveyard Point. Please join us. Thank you so much for watching.